So, a shunt plate. Word on the street is that this can increase my attachment force of a magnet by 10% just by adding that piece of steel to the back of it. Seems like a pretty cheap force boost. Alright, so to test this, I have a force gauge and I have these 3D printed fixtures that fit right onto that force gauge, and then of course a magnet that's glued onto that fixture there. And I'm going to compare a regular magnet without a shunt plate to a magnet that does have a shunt plate, both the same magnets, and then I'm going to do the same thing with polymagnets and sort of compare the results. Alright, so here we have the pull test on an extruded aluminum base that I made. And as you can see, it just gives you a straight load with the max pull force. So this sort of runs on this train track, and then I have this 22 gauge steel that slides right into this other piece of extruded aluminum to sort of make this right angle here. So here is our conventional magnets. One of them is on a shunt plate, this one, and this one is not on a shunt plate. So side by side you can see shunt plate here, no shunt plate here, just the epoxy onto the 3D printed component that connects it to this force gauge. So let's compare them, see if a shunt plate helps at all. Got 4.85 pounds, and let's try the magnet with a shunt on it. 8.8 pounds. This is definitely harder to pull off than this one. Let's try polymagnets. All right, so let's do it with the polymagnets. Same setup, same thing, just we're using polymagnets instead of conventional or traditional neodymium magnets. So there you are, that is polymagnet 421. Polymagnet 421. This one doesn't have the shunt plate. So let's test that one first, see what we get. It's gonna be significantly stronger than the conventionals. But what's gonna be the difference between the magnets? All right, 35.9. How does the shunt polymagnet compare?
Listen to the end.
39 flat. All right, guys, so just to spare you, I did 10 pull tests on each of the different magnets and sort of compared the results, and I found a 45% force increase with the shunt plate on a conventional magnet and only a 4.4% force increase with the polymagnet. And I think that's because the pattern on the polymagnet sort of acts to create a shunt naturally compared to the conventional magnet. And that's interesting because there's a lot more value in adding a shunt plate to a conventional magnet than a polymagnet. So Polymagnets does put a shunt plate on their demo kit products, and it's a really thin shunt plate, and it's actually only 1/2 millimeter thick. And I think it's a little bit more for the purpose of holding the magnet into the plastic housing, because this nickel plating that's on the magnet material, the sort of standard on most neodymium magnets, is really hard to attach to. And that's a whole different story, but having a shunt plate on the back with the added glue just helps hold the magnet in place in that plastic housing. So guys, I hope this video on shunt plates was helpful for you. If you'd like to subscribe, I'd appreciate that. I know the polymagnet and magnet community is a little bit smaller in general, so I like to get these videos out to as many people as possible. And I hope shunt plates and learning a little bit more about shunt plates is helpful for you in your magnet design applications. Thanks for watching. Bye. I don't know why anyone would use a regular magnet when you could use a polymagnet. It's way stronger.